All right. So, happy Saturday night, everybody. If you're stuck in the house, know how you feel. Bear knows how you feel too. She's coming. What is it? What happened? What is it? I don't know what she suddenly wants. She wasn't saying a word until I started reading.
Right.
I don't know what's up with her. All right, so we'll give this a shot. We're back into volume 3 here. So, not going to finish it today, but we're going to keep going. I changed out the bookmark I'm using to Doug Smale with Minnesota North Stars, and it says now with Nordiques on it, and on the back it's his first card with Tops, which was with the Jets. One of my favorite players. So, pulled him out of a pack, and I thought, sure, I can use that one. Talia walks out in public despite warnings she is the target for a hit by Alltelian sympathizers. Frank Rightly is close behind her, brother of the former leader of Falteri's forces, and now retired himself from military life and working as a bodyguard for her. He is one of the more vocal regarding her safety at this point, and he doesn't want her out walking around in the open like this. If a sniper takes a shot, there likely isn't anything he can do, but Talia is aware of that as he is as aware of that as he is. Mike is still working closely with Earth's forces. There's been some people talking to me about filling in for him, Talia says. Frank laughs. Yeah, there's an idea. They've referred to me as an old fossil to my face, the same as they used to call my brother. And I go back into active duty to fill in for Translo? Talia, you're a sweet lady and all, but you're way off on that one. My job is now to make sure that you're safe, and out here on the streets of Jarnon is the last place I would have you. Jarnon, the capital city of Falteres, is widely regarded as the most beautiful city in the known galaxy. It's a mix of old architecture from centuries ago mixed with modern design. Steel frame buildings are various colors and shapes and mixed perfectly with the stone and brick of the old buildings that have been preserved perfectly to this point in history. It's been a capital of this planet since the stone buildings were first set in place all those millennia ago. It's a world of rich history, one which tries to avoid repeating past mistakes, and one which has seen its share of growing pains to reach this point. There were civil wars on Falteres, and there are still lines drawn between those who dwell within the cities and those who dwell in the more rural lifestyle. Being the ruler of a world divided makes Talia's job all the more challenging. The war with Alltel had always been an unpopular route for her world to take. Even now, there were attacks on Earth and the Alltelian plot. Even now, after the attacks on Earth and the Alltelian plot to wipe out humanity have been uncovered, she still met resistance in terms of this war moving forward. Talia was perceived by her people as a smart woman and pretty enough, but she wasn't seen as a tremendous leader by even people within her own government. It was a constant battle for her. I don't feel threatened out here, Frank. At least, I don't feel any more threatened out here than I do anywhere else. If they want me dead, I'm at risk in my very home. Besides, the Italians have not shown any desire to put me out of my misery. I believe they feel I'm weak, and they may worry Mike Translo would be the planet's commander if anything were to happen to me. I don't see the reason everybody loves Translo so much, Frank grumbles. Talia takes Frank by the arm and smiles at him. You can't see that for obvious reasons. I'm fine with that perception if it keeps me alive. She spots the person who came out to see. She came out here to see, and walks away from Frank to hug her sister. Sharias, it's so good to see you. Sharias Laris was 3 years younger than Talia, but also politically motivated despite her young age. She's actually the governess for a large portion of the rural population. She's here on official business, and it's her third trip to the capital city in the last 2 months. Of the two sisters, Sharias has always been seen as the more popular and fun one, though they're both very similar in appearance. Sharias has blonde hair in comparison to Talia's brown hair, but they can be recognized almost as twins outside of that. Cordell Laris had raised his daughters and molded them into the politicians they were. As a military man, he'd been respected by all people on Falteres. He'd become the leader after retiring from military duty and had fathered his two girls later in life when he finally settled down and been married. He had never protected his daughters from seeing the inner workings of politics, and he had never tried to make it seem grander than what it was. He did make it clear he would rather see them as politicians than as military soldiers, and now they were following as he had wished. Talia had the dark hair and piercing eyes of her father, while Sharias had the blonde hair and blue eyes of their mother, Marina. Their mother had passed away while they were still very young due to an attempted assassination against Cordell just prior to the final end of the Civil War. The war had long been over. No treaty had ever been signed until Marina's death, as people on both sides of the conflict were very fond of her regardless of their feelings towards Cordell. Their family history caused them to find popularity within all areas of their population, thus the rise through the political ranks, while Talia was currently only 25 and Schreilers was only 22. They were far younger than any others in politics, and that served them well as they saw it, bringing a fresh view to a job usually reserved for those who were older and more set in their ways. Talia walks Shiraz towards the Parliament building, where the sisters will talk things over, Frank greatly walking close behind and keeping his eyes open, as that is his job. He knows he's likely paranoid and that he could let up a little, but he's been through some bad times recently due to his inability to do the right thing in regards of Alltel, so overcompensating is only natural under the circumstances. The Parliament building is one of the oldest stone buildings in the city, and it was once a large church, attended by thousands every week. The shift from church to politics had been seen as a natural one for their people, and it had discovered more about how the universe works, and fewer people believed in all of that powerful deity ruling above them. The church's membership had dwindled over time and lost their ability to afford such a place in which to worship, so it had fallen into the hands of the government, who transformed it quickly into their parliament as a symbolized hope for their people. Talia had been in a fight recently to save this as their parliament building with those who believed something more modern and perhaps larger would send a message to their enemies that they were adapting to change and ready to lead well into the future. Talia viewed this as a large part of their world's culture and history. She wanted it kept as is, and she felt it was important, especially during a time of such uncertainty, that the people could see some stability within the capital. The war continues without a shot fired, Shirai says, shaking her head. My people are not happy about that. I know you've seen the polls, but you need to know these people. You need to show these people something new, or they will start calling for a treaty. Talia nods. I'm working on getting information from within Altelian circles. It's not just people out there who are tired of this fight. There are those on their side who are tired of the fight as well and simply want to find peace and harmony. With the attack against Alltel, this has to be heightened for them. Shirai stops in her tracks. That's the other thing that brings me here. There's chatter within my ranks that Earth was behind that. They weren't. I know that. I'm aware that they don't possess that ability. It's not reality that we're concerned with, but perceived reality. How many times did Father tell us that? Talia leans back against a stone pillar and tries to reason with her sister in plain sight of anyone choosing to visit the historic site that day. She prides herself on being transparent in how she governs. Unless military secrets are involved, she is always willing to discuss anything with the general public, from government spending all the way to taxes and how they should be collected. But he also told us to govern with our minds and not to be swayed by public outcry. Alltel was able to carry out terrible deeds against Earth because we turned a blind eye and wanted to be peacemakers. We enabled them to become this war machine, and even after their attack on their world, we simply cannot throw our hands in the air and declare peace. Sharias then takes her sister by the hand and leads her towards the large hall where meetings are held to decide the fate of things that they are discussing. The people believe that, since we are headed into an election year, some of the war talk is overblown since leaders are rarely voted out during a time of turmoil such as this. This attack on Alltel, one which has decimated their world, actually works against us as it will only fuel sympathy from those in rural areas who don't believe what we tell them is true anyway. Alltel felt that way about them too, and the last time I checked, they were still enslaved. I won't allow that to happen here, Talia responds. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir, Talia, Sharias reminds her as they make their way around to the seating meant for the members of the House. Parliament is at this point not in session, but they'll be meeting in a week, and there's no doubt in either of their minds that this will be a hot topic for the opposition, who would love to see the Laris sisters lose their place, as they feel they never earned it. Sharias, I need you to go to those in your constituency and work your magic. The fate of all the world depends on how we act now. Our people need to protect them from Alltel, and worst of all, from ourselves. Ignorance is certainly not bliss in regards to this matter, Talia says as she sits down in the front row and looks up onto the stage where her seat stands. The church's pulpit has become her own, and in place of preaching love and peace, she'll be preaching war and caution regarding their enemy. You need Mike Translow, Frank says, and the words taste bad as he spits them out. He even winces after he says it. Talia smiles at her personal bodyguard. Who says you can't teach old dogs new tricks? And that's the end of that scene. Alright. So next scene. Donna Meadows and Jenny Keenan walk the prisoners at gunpoint from their cell while trying to maintain their calm, considering they're behind the two most dangerous prisoner Earth has ever had to deal with. If anyone had told them this morning they'd be walking Gora and Ver from their cells to a waiting shuttle, there's no chance they would have believed them. The only factor keeping them from running off is the presence of Mike Translow, Dradgen, and Jim Webster, who are all leading the way. As the party rounds a corner in the hallway, and they see a shuttle at the end of their journey, they also see Addison Marks is awaiting them, and he doesn't look happy. You have to be bloody kidding, he says before pointing a finger at Gora. This man destroyed everything on my planet, and you're letting him out? Special circumstances, Addison, Mike says as he reaches to Addison and tries to place a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Addison pulls away, but Mike maintains eye contact. Look, I know this is bad. I know what these guys did to your world. I'm asking you to trust me here. There's something big going on out there, and we have to know what's happening before Earth and Falteris could potentially end up in flames as well. I think they attacked themselves. They're animals, Mike, Addison says before glaring at Gora. Were you there when the last person on my planet was killed? Did your father bring you to the bridge and let you see what he had done? I never saw any of that, Gora says. If this is going to become a guilt trip, I'll happily return to my cell and watch everyone die. Mike, this thing can't help you. He'll lie. He'll do whatever he has to in order to further his position in this life. And his people believe they are superior to us in every way. Their religious fanaticism is dangerous, especially when the government is in full control of it, Addison says again, glaring at Gora. Considering your place in lore as the one who could defeat our people, you should be thankful for the prophecies, Gora says with a half smile crossing his twisted face. Addison manages to smile, but he's definitely not happy. Oh, right. The wonderfully vague prophecies. I love how they could be applied to a lot of people. Mike here could qualify. Half the Webster brothers could qualify. It all depends on who's reading them and what their political agenda might be. I know. The prophecies, they've changed over the years and have been used to justify exterminating my world as well as attacking this one. Gora continues to smile. I like your fire, Addison. I also agree with you. The prophecies are being rewritten right now by Sabal to suit his vision for Alltel. He'll lead them down the path, and he'll lead them down the path to ruin. Good riddance, Addison snaps. But is it only Alltel at risk? See, this is where I know the answer. I know things my father told me and only me. Others, like Ver here, know a few items in regards to what we face, but I know exactly what's happening here. Then tell them and do the right thing for a change, Addison says, as he takes a step towards Gora, and Ver takes a swing at Addison, connecting with his jaw and sending him down to the floor. Jenny uses her stun gun to bring Ver to his knees and tries to keep herself steady in the face of adversaries who could snap her in half on a whim. She's questioning Mike's decision to invite her and Donna along. Okay, settle down, people, she says in as steady a tone as she can manage. I'll kill you for that, Ver growls at Jenny, even as the charge runs through his body. Not likely, Mike says, as he watches Jenny shock the prisoner before he then pulls Ver to his feet. Don't forget we're in charge here. Our infinite mercy gets tested one more time, and you go through an airlock into space. You got that? Ver doesn't answer and only gives Mike an icy stare. Addison shakes his head. This is what you're relying on, Mike. These beasts are going to tell you only what they want you to know, and then they'll get you all killed. I'm going to be joining you on your little trip here. I brought Jim just in case that you tried saying no. Mike looks over at Jim. I was actually going to get you and your brothers to come along anyway. Look, John's missing. We don't know where he is, and apparently when might be the right question to ask as well. That's the big secret, Addison asks. If this is about time travel, I have information and theories regarding how it could work. I can work with you, Mike, but not these monsters who should be locked away until the end of time itself. This monster has more than theories, Marks. This monster is the only hope you have for getting them back. If you don't want them back, then by all means I'll return to my cell, and you can share your theories and spin your wheels, as they say. Gora says. I really hate you, Mike says to Gora before turning his attention to Addison. The monster's right, though. I guess we have room on the ship for you and anyone else you wanted to bring. Addison and Jim join the team headed towards an uncertain fate, their mortal enemies in tow. Next scene. Sabal looks out at empty space. First officer Rek at his side. The trajectory was plotted back to this point, but there's nothing here. The calculations had to be wrong. Sir, this is where the object came from. Early reports state that the object was no more than 100 feet across, but that it was composed of a form of metal we've never seen. The density of the object was just so high, and no weapons we possessed could thwart another attack if one were to occur. Rek wants to provide some good news here, but it's scarce at the moment. So what do we do now? We have to know who's responsible for this. It can't be humans. They don't have this kind of technology. Do we have access to Geyer's audio files? Sabal asks. Most of them. Why? Maybe we can find something in his history to explain this. I want you to do a search for any entry that might explain what happened here. Punch it up, main screen, Sabal says as he sits down in his throne. Sabal's disappointed in being unable to show off his new ship. This is the maiden voyage for the Alltelian warship Varya, named after the Alltelian man who created their version of warp drive technology. The new ship was going to have to wait before it was going to be led into battle. This crowning moment was now a wild goose chase, and Sabal was enraged. Rek looks through the vast amount of material they have from Geyer's archives for anything related to advanced technology. He finds one hit right away and sends it to the main window, causing the starscape to instead fade, and Geyer's face fills the screen. I have collided today with something I cannot explain, Geyer says, clearly shaken, which is unnerving considering how cold and heartless a killer this man had been. Our trip was always dangerous. I knew that. I did what I did for the Alltelian people, and I did it to widen our control over everything we see. We are truly the ones created to rule the galaxy rule everything in this universe. There are some who are happy with controlling merely portions of the galaxy, but I see the big picture, and there are infinite possibilities. I have previously laid out a plan as was foreseen. Now, I admit I did not take into account every variable in this plan, and now I fear this will lead to grave consequences. I had to make certain we escaped in such a fashion that they were unable to trace us back to our source. The Alltelian people have relied on me today, and I admit that I have let them down. The image of the steel object which had recently struck Alltel then appears on the screen in place of Geyer's picture. This was sent shortly after we made our escape. Our long-range sensors picked this object to discern what lurks within it. It moves slowly, though there are no obvious means of propulsion. It is my hope that once we pass through the wormhole that is unable to continue its pursuit. Geyer's image again appears on screen in place of that steel object. I cannot explain this really. That object, whatever it is, terrifies me. They mean to kill us all. I will admit we fired the first shot, but they fired the rest, and I now realize we may not be the ultimate power in the universe. I have to shield my people from this menace and guard against this kind of interaction happening again. These records will be sealed, and I pray no one follows in our footsteps. The video ends there, and Sabal angrily turns to Rek. I need to see the video before and after that one. That doesn't tell me anything. Rek scowls as he punches in numbers and tries to better the situation. Sir, the record recently before and after that one is not here. It was somehow deleted from the archives. Sabal lowers his head. Then the only man who might know what's going on here is Gora. We need to get Gora and deal with him. But that would take us into a battle for Earth. Sabal looks around him and takes a few moments. His crew looks ready. His ship is more than ready. Maybe this maiden voyage won't be such a waste after all. I guess we're going to have to head to Earth then. Yes, sir, Rex says, trying to rein in his sense of both joy and terror at the thought of heading into a potential battle with Earth and perhaps even the Peace Restorer. That's what this ship was made to do, destroy the hope of the enemy. What better way than to destroy their flagship in its maiden voyage? And that's the end of Chapter 2. We're only 50 pages? 70 pages from the end of the whole thing. So, how many did you get pinned while I was talking? 10?
4, 8, 12.
12?
12, yep.
How many did you make today?
Oh my gosh. I think I finished 30 of them. I had all those ones, remember, that I was turning right side out last night?
Yeah.
I finished all those, and then I finished the 6 masks.
And then she's coming over to pick them up tomorrow?
There's supposed to be one nurse picking up caps tomorrow, and then one nurse picking up caps on Monday.
That's a lot. And then when you get those done, then they're going to say, and we'll take anything else you can make.
Yes. The one nurse, Robbie, she's like, so, are you still making them? My living room is still covered in fabric, so yes. Until the fabric is gone, I will keep making them. And since your mom's friend gave me like 6 sheets, I can make 14 out of one sheet. That's good. all this
Yeah.
is a sheet. It was a fitted sheet
Mm-hmm.
that like had lost the elasticity to it.
Yeah.
But the fabric's still good, so
Well, there you go.
do that on the inside, and then the fun fabric's on the outside.
So there you go. She's still hard at work every day, and I'm hard at work down here every day, and so we're doing our best right now, and I'm hoping things are about ready to get better. So
No, we might get to go to phase 2 next week.
I mean, you know, on a money note, yesterday the channel made the most money it's made in 3 weeks.
It's
In a
because
day?
with things opening, they're going to start advertising
So-
stuff again.
Well, and I had a good day. I had a couple of videos that hit pretty well yesterday.
That's good.
So, and the Toronto video didn't. The Toronto video was the only one that didn't, and yet, anytime I talk about Toronto, there will be a Toronto fan, and I know there's a lot of Toronto fans out there, so I know it's the minority, but they'll always be like, yep, he's going for views, so he's talking about Toronto. It doesn't get that many more
Figure
views.
it's the not Toronto fans. It's the people that
No,
really don't like hearing
Very
about
often,
Toronto.
very often it's the ones that are like, oh, see, you don't like us, and then you need money, so you start talking about us. No,
That's
that's
weird.
not a thing. For instance, for tomorrow, I've got Vancouver and Calgary, that rivalry. The New York Rangers Tampa Bay Lightning series from 2015. The LA Kings franchise lows for that team. And then I want to do my favorite Montreal Canadiens, which will throw people off because they'll be like, but you don't like the Canadiens. Doesn't mean I can't have favorite players.
Right?
So, there's that. So, yeah, no Leafs to be found. And I didn't talk about the Leafs today either. So, kind of weird. And then, hopefully, over the next couple of days, we hear something concrete from the NHL about what their plan might be. I could do videos on the 2014 playoff idea, but until we know exactly what the plan is, it's just all wild speculation, and I'd like to not do that. So, yeah.
That fan's really cold. Goodness.
It's fantastic. I am so glad I have a fan in here again. I went and got it. I had to get all the cat fur crap out of it too though. Because I came in and plugged it in and turned it on, and I just, like, holy crap.
Is this in the back of the stair room?
No, it was in the furnace room.
Oh, right. We have more fans in the stair.
I know,
under
but
the
I have to
stairs.
dig out the ladder, and I have to dig out the
Right.
other crap. So this one was right there.
Right.
And it works just fine. And then I've got the other one too that's still down here, the little mini one.
Oh yeah, the one that clips on your desk.
So the plan too is that I'm getting a new desk. So the desk I'm using now has a shelf behind the computer, and then the webcam is at that end. This way it'll be kind of like a pulpit. The way it'll
Looks
look is
like a podium.
like a podium. So in reality, what we could do is we could have the camera further away for certain videos when I'm doing like a fake press conference.
Flip it on your.
I could make it like I'm Gary Bettman, and I could have a suit and everything, and I could just talk like Bettman
I'd
and
vote for you wearing a suit.
talk like Bettman, and
Nice.
our plan is that kind of what would you not look okay. Anyways. So yeah, I can have some fun with that,
I vote yes.
and if the NHL doesn't come back this summer, then I make up my own league and we go from there, and then I can do previews and reviews on my own. Here's the preview. Here's the review.
Yep. People wouldn't watch that.
Well, I would do it by weeks. I wouldn't do it by day. I'd do it by weeks. And have fun with it. And I think you'd be surprised. I think people will be itching for sports news of some sort. The NHL 20 run-throughs that some channels and some of the media are doing, they're actually doing full-on reviews after, and they're doing previews before. So, weirdest thing I've ever seen, but I'm like, well, yeah, it makes sense to me. Sure, all right. I made up my own league when I was a kid because I wanted to see the Canucks win something. It's just hilarious that I made up my own hockey league so the Canucks could win a Stanley Cup. And they won a couple, and then they lost for the next 15 years. They couldn't win a Stanley Cup. Even when I made the league, they found a way to lose. So, and Calgary won 7 years in a row. So,
7.
7
That's
years in a row.
ridiculous.
7 in a row. And then the Rangers won, I think it was 3 in a row for the Rangers. And I didn't even like the Rangers at the time, but they won the Stanley Cup.
That's ridiculous.
So, yeah. And people would tell me, too, they'd be like, wait, you made this up? Yep. But those aren't your favorite teams that are winning. No, it's not. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it makes sense up here. Sure. I'd have first round draft picks that were flops and first round draft picks that were great. Late draft picks that were awesome. I would do all 7 rounds of the draft. I would make up 210 names a year.
That's ridiculous, Shannon.
No, it was 9 rounds. 9 rounds. Yeah, it was 9 rounds with 30 teams. So it was 270 names I was making up every year. And so I was going through phone books, through various hockey-related materials to find Czech names, Russian names, Swede, Finn, anything I could find, and just making up as many names as possible. And then most of them never even played because it was 270 names.
Right.
So
I'm such a weirdo.
I had the rookies, I had all the awards too. I had one goalie that wasn't any good in LA, so he went to Vancouver. He was there for 2 weeks, and then he went to the Capitals. And when he got to the Capitals, they started winning. But the Capitals had 3 goaltenders, so they had to make a decision on which one they were going to keep and which one they were going to get rid of. And they waited till the offseason, and then they moved that 3rd goaltender. And then he went on to, was it Quebec? He went on to Quebec, and he did well there. So, see, it's not just NHL stuff that I remember in my brain. It's all the fake hockey stuff that never happened in my own league.
You remember everything.
It's all
it's
the fake
everything.
stuff. And then there were 3 brothers. There were 3 brother goaltenders. One of them was in Calgary. The second was in St. Louis. And then the third was, I believe he had time in Vancouver, but he had an attitude problem, so he ends up getting moved to Dallas. I took him in Dallas because I was the general manager Dallas at that point. So I took him in Dallas and got him straightened out. And then we won a championship with him. So it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Because I was in Vancouver, and then I got traded to Montreal. Then I went back to Vancouver because I didn't like Montreal. And I ended up in Calgary. I went to Boston. I went back to Vancouver, and then I got traded to Dallas. And then I played briefly in LA, but I ran LA as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's really interesting.
So there you go. Wasn't just watching hockey. I was just legend in my own mind. So, because I would win a Stanley Cup in one place, and I go, all right, now I'm going to turn that team around, and I go somewhere else. I was like a hired gun. All right, cool. They got a championship. I'm going to go somewhere else. And I was in Vancouver 3 times. And then by the 3rd time that I left Vancouver, I had to make it up that I had a really bad relationship with Canucks management, and that I had a problem with the general manager and the coach. That's why I ended up getting traded the 3rd time. So, what are you shaking your head about?
So weird.
Why is that weird?
Why? Okay, did anybody else do that? No? Okay, it's weird.
That was only up here. None of it ever ended up in a book. None of it ended up going anywhere, doing anything, nothing. So, and when I was at school, I was either writing these kinds of books that I'm reading now to the channel, or I was doing my hockey. So I had my novel and I had my hockey, and I took that to every class. I mean, those were full binders, so that was heavy. So I have like those 2 full binders plus all of my school stuff. I would have like a mark on my shoulder from my book bag, right? You know, because I would get everything out of my locker for the day, so I didn't have to go back to the locker.
Mm-hmm.
I just carry my bag around for the rest of the day. So I was that guy. What's in his bag? Why doesn't he go to his locker? At some point, I'll do videos on the hockey channel about all that too. That'd be kind of fun. Reviewing years in a league that didn't exist.
Bear wants to tell you what she thinks about that.
What is wrong with her?
Don't you?
I don't know what she wants. I'm guessing it's to be picked up.
Hey.
I'm guessing that's usually what the answer is that she wants to be picked up. Is that what you wanted? Is that what you wanted? You wanted to be picked up? Yep, that's what she wanted, isn't it? Anyways, thanks guys for watching, as always. I always leave all the little tidbits at the end for people who actually stick around and watch it, because I think that's kind of fun to leave all the little tidbit stuff at the end.
Tidbits.
Okay, get your mind out of the gutter.
How was that? What? I didn't do anything.
It's the way you said it. It's all suggestive.
That's
and suggestible.
suggestive.
That was too, so be nice. Hey, nope, get out of there. Okay, no, knock it off.
That's suggestive.
Okay, knock it off. All right, Thank you guys for watching, for all your support during this time of apocalypse and all that. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video, to which I have no idea how that would happen. But if it did, happy accident. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.